Hi, Erwin Arnstein here again with another tuba review. As you can all see from my other tuba reviews, I'm kind of a tuba horse trader. You keep trading instruments till you find something that fits you or something that you really like. And then after you get those instruments, then you think, well, I'll hang with this one until I find the next one that works better. Always open to new ideas, open to new things. Now, I did that with accordions, and I probably went through 15 before I got what I wanted. In a perfect world, in the old days, you went into a instrument shop, they would have maybe a few different makes of tubas, and they'd have 3 or 4 of each one. So you would pick out which model that you liked the best, and then you would pick which one of those models fit you the best, because each one of these things is of course handmade, and so they all have characteristics that are, you know, slightly different. Maybe one fits you a little better, maybe one doesn't. I've noticed quite a variation in Miraphone 186 models, and maybe just because they made so many of them. But some of them I played were really good, and some of them I played were pretty mediocre. Today's review compares the small, medium, and large of the typical tubas in the old tuba market. We have here one of Wessex's little travel tubas, or Tutton tuba, or whatever they're calling it, mighty midgets. Then I have my venerable 1916 York, which is my go-to horn. It's a 3-valve upright action, but a lot of me and my friends feel that you don't really need more than 3 valves if you can play it well. And then here in the large category and the very heavy category is the famous British Besson 3-valve compensating tuba. Now, the compensating tuba adds extra tubing to the other valves for when you use the 3rd valve combination. So 3rd valve actually pipes you back in to the other valve set, and then the sound comes out. And this is very advantageous when you're using a 1st and 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, or 1st 1, 2, and 3 combinations, because it just plays a better tune. You don't have to work, you don't have to change your embouchure automatically to compensate for it. So let's start with my benchmark horn here, and I am using a new loud LM10 mouthpiece. A guy came by with a vintage Con 36J tuba, and I thought it was a pretty neat horn, and he had an LM12. It's super shallow. You can brighten the sound up really fast, but because it's very shallow, it articulates very fast. So what's kind of fun to play, it's just like a King bass trombone, the duo gravis. You just have to be careful with it that it doesn't get blatty or nasty in sound. Now, if you're looking for just playing marching sousaphone and blatty and large, well, there you go, you've got it. So let's hear a couple of old baritone studies that I like to play on the tuba, or really haven't played much in 20 years, but they're nice pieces. They show off quick and slow and whatever. So let's hear these 2 etudes, and you'll get an idea what they work like. Now, I just got through warming up with my Rose Orchestra, and I have to say the LM10 is easier to play than the Rose Orchestra, which has been my mainstay for years. When I'd lay off for tuba for a few years, the first thing I would play would be a Helleberg, and then I would work myself up to a bigger mouthpiece like the Rose Orchestra or the Rose Solo. But I think this is a better all-around mouthpiece. It's actually just a lot easier to play. So here we go. Here's the second etude. Now, Not great, not perfect, but pretty decent. And that's the York. So that's the kind of the basis what we'll compare us on. Big, nice, round sound. You can change tone colors on it real easy, and that's why I like to play it in the Foxtrot Orchestra. Now, recently, I had done a review of the Hugh Branham's 52 New Wonder Tuba, and I traded that for this thing because the 52 never fit me. It wasn't my horn. And I thought this would be fun to try and have. All right, well, it's for sale, and it's out on eBay. It's in great shape, so it's hardly been played. The old man had bought it. He wanted something light and easy to play. Now, this is actually shorter than my 1912 York baritone horn. It actually sets up a little bit higher, and it's very compact. There's a whole lot of tubing in there, as you can see, in a very tight spot. Now, every tuba plays differently, and it really takes a couple of weeks of playing on one to really get to know how it plays. But I'm not going to have this thing that much longer, so I thought I would go ahead and get this video review in and let you hear it in comparison with other tubas so that you know what it sounds like and know what it's capable of, at least in my hands. Now, I tried it originally with the LM10. I didn't like it. I think it's too much mouthpiece for the horn. And it comes with like a 24 AW. Well, I haven't played one of those since high school. I do have one on my Helicon because that's the only stem that fits. So let's see what I can do doing the same thing. Okay. Okay, so it sounds a little flatter, a little different than tuning than York, and it's typical of Germanic-styled rotary valve instruments. Let's hear the more singing etude. So it takes a little getting used to. It's far different blowing than any other kind of tuba. Now I'm adjusting myself to the way this instrument plays to see how much I can get out of it. And as you hear, it has pretty good potential. It's a small, thin spinner sound, or brighter sound than you'd expect from another tuba. And let's just, for the hell of it, try this LM10 with that same etude and play a little bit, maybe the end of it. So immediately you have a different tone, a different color, and maybe a little better sound. Let's hear a little bit of the other one on it. So you get an idea, and just for the fun of it, let's try a Rose solo. Now, Rose was a tuba player in a tuba symphony, probably one of the most underrated tuba players ever was. So that may be even the best mouthpiece to use with this horn. As you hear, the sound was a little thinner than the LM10, but it was a little easier to articulate, which is kind of funny because this actually articulates easier in the York. So mouthpieces are very important, critical for tuba, and critical for probably any brass instrument, but this is much as more, and you can certainly change the tone, color, and the sound of the instrument. Here's a little of the other etude. So there you have a little tiny travel tuba. I'm holding it and playing it like a baritone. It does have a strap that would take this weight off your hands. It doesn't weigh very much. It does weigh more than a baritone or even a compensating euphonium. So it's a pretty cool little horn. and it's certainly distinct. And if you can't hold one of these big babies and you don't want to tote one of those damn things around, this is definitely a consideration. Now, let's talk about jumbo. And I'm going to put this guy over here where it'll be safe. Now, jumbo here is a big Besson. It was probably made and bought in the mid-70s. I took it to college, played it for a while, did a scholarship on it, and then that was it for the horns. So mostly got unused. So fortunately, it doesn't need to use anything but regular valve oil, whereas the York, to play decently, has to use ultra pure light bearing oil to make a valve seal on it. This did have a valve job done by Allied, but that was about 30 years ago, and it's just worn. So let's try jumbo here with the LM10. Of course, this is a compensating tuba. You'll notice it doesn't really change tone colors all that much. It's still a little tall here. It's a big horn, very heavy, very thick brass, very hard to remove dents out of it. Okay, so let's get all this rearranged. Now with this mouthpiece, this may be the best playing tuba that I have. It's easier to control the York. The York maybe doesn't center its sound as well as this thing does, and that may be for a couple of reasons. It may be the thickness of the brass in this instrument, it may be the York's age, and of course the difference in the design with compensating valves. And also this doesn't have a million years of wear on it, whereas this is a 101-year-old horn now, or virtually 100 years old. So it's seen a lot of action. I like the York and the dance band stuff because I can change tone colors. I can be a string bass, I can be a fat and sassy tuba. If you go out to my channel, look at some of the Singapore Slingers videos, you'll hear a lot of examples of the York playing. I tend to use this horn in band stuff and with the New Texas Symphony when I play with that orchestra. It's just a big, nice, mellow horn. And I have to tell you, this is the first time I've used the LM10 inside this instrument. And I'm really liking this. LM10 is a very good design. I'm very pleased with it. It seems to fit me very well. And that's the key thing. A mouthpiece needs to fit you. So try it again, just like tubas. Even after you picked out a whole bunch of different tubas in a shop and then settled on one, then you would have to go through mouthpieces and see which one suits the style that you need to play. So if you're going to buy a tuba, and tubas are expensive, they're thousands of dollars if you're going to buy a new one, go somewhere like Brasswind, go up to Wessex, go to one of the big shops that carries a bunch of model lines and has a bunch of horns, and then go in there and try them all. It's worth the trip, it's worth the expense, it's worth it to have a horn that fits you. Alright, so on to the second etude. Now, of course, somewhere in those places I didn't breathe where I should have breathed, and one of the valve caps a little loose. But really, the Besson's certainly a nice horn. Don't undersell those things. If you can find one in good shape, and this one, note, was not stored very well. It has all these little dents up in here on this pipe. As you can hear, all those little dents, they're cosmetic. They really don't make a difference. You heard how the horn plays. You heard how it compares to the York, where I've used my own MDS, magnetic dent removal system, to remove most of the dents out of this thing. And this is just really with the LM10, and now nice horn. And just to give a comparison, we used my Rose Orchestra for a little bit of this, and you can hear how that affects how this instrument plays. And I've got to tell you, it is kind of hard, difficult to go through these three different instruments, because each one has a different valve throw and a different feel of the valves, and especially the travel tuba. As you can see when I was playing it, I was getting a little finger tied up because I was just not used to the action on it. A little less brighter, a little more mellow, a little more of an orchestral sound. If I brought out the Rose Orchestra, which is really big and really deep, it would be even darker and even more mellow. So think about that. Don't just have one mouthpiece, have multiple mouthpieces. Have one that's bright for band work, one smooth and mellow for our orchestral work. All right, one more, and that'll be it. Small, medium, large. Each one does its own thing well. Maybe you should just buy all of them. Thank you for watching. Best luck, and thank you.